Alright, y'all, let's talk about how I spent a year learning how to deep squat and why on earth I did that. Like, the time investment. I am shook at that I did that. Okay, now of course I have my trusty handy dandy laptop to take me through this entire year, so let's get into it. With that said, why did I even want to do a deep squat? Short answer, TikTok. Okay, the answer to everything is TikTok these days. TikTok inspires my challenges and my fitness challenges specifically. Okay, so back then when I decided to take on this challenge, all I did was high impact training. So think MMA, HIIT, aerobics, spin, very high impact, extraneous, heaving type of training. And while mentally I felt great, because to this day, I love to literally be on the floor dead. Like, I kid you not, I do not want to move after training. That is where my heart is at, okay? But unfortunately, while I felt mentally great, my body hated me. Like, it literally hated me. I was just so exhausted, and while I was doing all of this, I didn't feel strong, which was the most flabbergasting thing I noticed. Is I didn't feel strong. Ironically, I actually felt weaker the more I trained. The more I trained, the more and more exhausted I was, the more and more fragile I felt, the more and more just like a damn cloth. I just felt like a damn cloth. It was awful. And so, of course, on TikTok, fitness talk has exploded, and more so than fitness talk, that is my niece in the background, more so than fitness talk, mobility talk has just, it has powder keg right there, right? Which is, of course, how I came across the idea of functional training and mobility, and I was really intrigued because it sounded promising. It sounded so promising for all the problems I was having. My hips felt weak, my body felt weak, I was constantly tired physically. I was honestly starting to get mentally tired as well, and dreading my training, which is why when I came across someone talking about how good, many people talking about how good it was to deep squat and how able it made you, I thought about it. I thought about the fact that I wanted to be able-bodied. That's really why I'm training, is I want to be able to do everything. I want to be flexible, I want to be strong, I want to be fast, I want to perform the best in all ways you can as an athlete, right? And a big part of being able to do that, I think the only way to actually do that is to have an able and functional body, which I did not have at that moment. So deep squatting seemed very promising, and I took on the challenge. So let's talk about how it went. At the beginning, it was kind of awful, I'm going to be honest. It wasn't easy at all. I did a base test to start off with, and my ankles were off the ground by a mile. Now, of course, that's a hyperbole, but my ankles were nowhere near the ground, okay? And I'm trying to do kind of the deep squat with your ankles on the ground, your hips not too wide, accounting for hip tightness and ankle tightness. So of course, we got to work, because that's what we do. We move. At this point, my hips and ankles, that's what needed work. And in my naivety, how do you pronounce that word? In my beginner throes, if you will, I thought stretching was the end-all be-all solution to everything and all of my problems. Okay, it was not, spoiler alert, but I thought it was. Now, to be fair, stretching did help. I don't want to rain on the stretching parade. Stretching is so good for you. But when you're trying to strengthen your body and trying to have a very functional body, you cannot just stretch. Although it took me a very long way. Stretching did take me a very long way, which is why I'm saying it's still really good Just not the only thing I should have done, right? But hey, we live and we learn, right? Everyone starts somewhere. Now, after literally months of intense yoga sessions, leaning against my bed frame to stay in a deep squat position for extended periods of time, balancing my weight around, lots and lots of yoga if I haven't already mentioned that, after a really intense yoga session, I mean intense, like that was an intense, like I still remember that yoga session, and it has been more than a year. So that yoga session was most definitely intense. So after that yoga session, I was for the very, very first time able to put my ankles on the ground in a deep squat position. And I was ridiculously happy. Like, you can see me smiling. I believe I still have the footage, and I'm going to insert it here. You can literally see me smiling and being so excited because it's the first time where I reached a really big milestone in my goal, for my goal. But you know your girl, I wasn't satisfied because I'm never satisfied, unfortunately, for myself. And maybe you, but most definitely for myself, because it still wasn't good enough. It wasn't what it wasn't what I was looking for, because I wanted to be able to get nice and deep, have my ankles comfortably on the ground, not have to do a crazy yoga session to be able to get my ankles on the ground. I wanted to do better. And this is where strengthening my hips and ankles came. Now, once again, bless the TikTok people, the TikTok universe, because I came across someone giving tips. I came across many people actually giving tips on how to get a deep squat, and many of them now included strengthening exercises, which I started to do. So think of the very typical lifting your legs and when you're in a seated position and putting them down to strengthen your hip flexors. Think raising your toes and then raising your heels to strengthen your calves. That's for ankle mobility. So just doing a lot of hip exercises. So the shin box exercise, the 90-90, not very fun, especially the hip exercises. Those are not fun. I have ridiculously weak hips. Those were not fun, but they were so ridiculously helpful. Ridiculously helpful. This is when I noticed the biggest change in the rate of my progression, like how fast I was getting towards my set goal. I started progressing towards it much faster when I incorporated strength training in my routine. Every day I could go just a little bit deeper by myself and with just a little bit better balance, which brings me to today actually. Now, admittedly, I am not at the place I want to be, but there is still a reason why I'm making this video. Okay, let me explain. Now, the place I want to be is I want to be able to sit on my haunches, is that how you pronounce that word? I want to be able to sit in a deep squat easily, comfortably, no pain at all. Like, you know how babies squat because they have no hip tightness yet? They haven't sat in a chair for more than 12 years, if you will. The way my niece squats, I want to be able to deep squat like that. Like, her bum is literally almost touching the ground, and it's so comfortable for her. She loves sitting that way. I want to be able to sit that way. I'm not there yet, but I made so much progress that I do believe I achieved the initial goal that I set. Be able to get into deep squat, ankles on the ground, have better hip mobility, ankle mobility, have a more functional body. Did I accomplish that? Yes, I did. This is actually where my mobility and functional strengthening and just where my training took off. It absolutely evolved from this one challenge that I did. I really started incorporating more low impact, more strengthening, more functional training, if you will, to get me towards my actual goal. So my goals kind of shifted from killing myself via training, so being on the ground, not being able to move, to having a functional and able body that can move however it wants to move. This is completely where I did a 180 and reassessed what I wanted, and what I would say has brought me to where I am today with my training. So if you haven't done this before, I would highly suggest investing some time just sitting a little bit on your ankles, doing a little bit of work towards. You don't have to go out and be like, I want to do a deep squat just like Ruha did. But I would say pay attention to your body. Aim for an abled body. Aim for a body that can move however it wants to move. That is, I think, the epitome. Is that how you pronounce it? The amount of times I have said, is that how you pronounce it in this video, is appalling. But once again, that is the epitome of success in my books. When you have an able and functional body to do whatever you want. That is success right there. So I highly, highly, highly encourage you all to maybe look into it a little bit if you're not already. With that said, I am definitely investing a lot more time into my mobility and functional training these days, and you're going to be seeing a lot more videos like this coming your way. With that said, thank you so much for watching, and until next time.